I think it's going to be very close. I mean, the way the polls are now, it's, each candidate's maybe 1%. Some polls have Rauner ahead, some have Quinn ahead.
The polling has been all over the map, and generally speaking, the aggregate of the polls usually get it right. And the aggregate of the polls has it this close.
You have margins like that are so close in the polling. What really is going to determine this, the outcome of the race, is going to be turnout. So whichever side, the Republicans or the Democrats, can really turn out their people, they're going to have a distinct advantage.
I definitely think it's going to be down to the wire. A lot of races in Illinois have been decided just by absentee votes. I really think based on voter turnout is who's going to win. I think if a lot of people come out and vote, Bruce will pull ahead, but if not a lot of people go out, Quinn does have a chance.
Illinois definitely is a more democratic state on large. So the higher the turnout is, in general, one would predict the better Quinn will do. If turnout is low and it's mostly voters who are just extremely unhappy with the status quo, then probably Rauner.
It's going to really come down to what campaign has the best field game. So, who's out there getting the most voter contacts, who's knocking on the most doors, who's hauling the most people in phone banks. I think that's really going to decide who's going to win this race.
I think that there is a lot of continuity, in fact, between 2010 and 2014. You have, again, a dissatisfied electorate, a perception of a economy that, rightly or wrongly, his perception is that it's not doing as well as it should be, and people are kind of pessimistic about it. There's still something of an attempt to generate a backlash against Democratic control in the state.
To me, what's interesting about it is they do represent two different philosophies. And it's very similar to kind of the Obama Mitt Romney philosophy. The Democratic candidate is looking at creating jobs and developing the economy in Illinois through investment and investment in higher ed, investment in infrastructure, through jobs programs. On the other hand, you've got the Republican candidate arguing for tax cuts and deregulation as the key elements to growth. And that's and so those basic philosophical differences on economic policy divide those two candidates and basically divide the two parties.
Something interesting about Pat Quinn, he's always kind of been associated as an outsider of the typical Democratic machine in Illinois. So the race is different because you got somebody from the Democrat side who's outside of that typical, Chicago machine, and you also have a Republican who's outside of the Republican establishment, as we could kind of assume.
I think this one is different because Bruce does have a plan to, I'll use his slogan, shake up Springfield and bring back Illinois. He claims to be a businessman and not a politician, which I think is interesting, and he does want to end the regime of Illinois Democrat politicians by trying to implement term limits, which I think is vital.
The reputation is largely a media-created sort of thing, and so if you watch the commercials, Rauner is this rapacious capitalist who presumably bumps off old people in nursing homes, and if you see Rauner's commercials, Quinn is a machine politician who enriches himself at the public treasury.
But Pat Quinn, Mike Madigan, and the Springfield crowd don't care what you think.
Bruce Rauner, he refuses to take responsibility for bankruptcies, corruption, FBI investigations, and Medicaid fraud.
Because the issues are complex and the medium by which these elections are debated is essentially TV and radio. What ends up happening is you have a war of sound bites, and I think what you're finding is instead of a really substantive debate about which kind of fiscal policy we should be pursuing or what kind of approach should we be taking towards pension reform, instead what you have are attacks on character. So he did this, he's a he's a corrupt SOB, he's a corrupt SOB. You get into this kind of mudslinging.
Nobody knows who is going to win this governor's race. It is that close. That said, I will make a prediction, and my prediction is that narrowly Illinois Governor Pat Quinn will be reelected governor.
Well, being president of the College Republicans, I think Bruce Rauner will win the race. I am 100% confident that he has it in the bag.
I personally think that Quinn will probably pull it out, even though he was behind in the polls throughout the summer. The polls in the last 2 or 3 weeks have put him slightly ahead.
But big turnout favors Quinn, lower turnout favors Rauner.
Pat Quinn's going to pull it out. I think Rauner for a very long time looked like he was going to win it, but I think his lack of experience in the political arena really ended up hurting him.
Just go out and vote if you're registered in Illinois. Like I said, voter turnout is going to be the biggest factor, whether you're voting Democrat or Republican. I like to say you can't complain if you don't vote, so definitely go out and vote. Vote early, that's available now. And then make sure if you are living in the Chicago area but you are still registered at home that you either do an absentee ballot or go home and vote, because it's really important.